The Game Boy Advance was Nintendo's most powerful handheld at the time, which meant that finally, all of those home console games could have some sort of a portable version on the handheld, and Mario Kart was no different. At this point in time, only Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64 was released, but Nintendo had figured out what they wanted from a Mario Kart, so they took the best of Mario Kart 64 and Super Mario Kart and merged it onto the Game Boy Advance, creating Mario Kart Super Circuit, the next Mario Kart in the series. You may think that this little Mario Kart is the most forgettable out of the bunch, but it's actually an extremely revolutionary Mario Kart, and it was influential on the series in ways that you may not even know. So hi, I'm Charlie, I'm back, and let's talk about Mario Kart Super Circuit. Mario Kart Super Circuit was developed by Intelligent Systems, which is a bit of a turn from the first two games in the series being developed in-house. Intelligent Systems is normally known for their work on Fire Emblem, the Wars series, and Paper Mario. So to see them work on a Mario Kart is incredibly interesting. Mario Kart Super Circuit also came at an interesting time for Nintendo. The game released in 2001, so the GameCube was 2 seconds away from coming out. With the release of the GameCube, Nintendo was completely redesigning the way Mario looked, with Luigi's Mansion being the first game that took on that look. But even with this game releasing just 1 to 2 months earlier than the GameCube, the game took up the Nintendo 64 art style of the Mario characters instead of the new updated style. It kinda leaves this game in a bit of a limbo state. It's not the Nintendo 64 era, because they didn't really make games for the Nintendo 64 anymore, but it's also not the GameCube era. It's just Mario Kart Super Circuit. But no matter the case, Mario Kart Super Circuit was the first Mario Kart to be on a handheld device, and my god, you can really tell. The game looks most similar to Super Mario Kart than Mario Kart 64, but it actually does improve on what Super Mario Kart did. In Super Mario Kart, the actual game really only takes up half the screen. The second half is just a map. This is obviously because they wanted the second half of the screen to be used for the multiplayer sections of the game and couldn't figure out how to get rid of it, but it honestly ruins the game for me. Look, I can excuse the fact that it's in 2D, but the way that the game is presented, man, it just feels weird. In Mario Kart Super Circuit, you actually have the full screen, and even arrows pointing you in the direction that you're supposed to go. This honestly really fixes the problem that I had of you not knowing where you're supposed to be going in Super Mario Kart. I just couldn't stand it in that game. The player models in this game also got a bit of an upgrade from Super Mario Kart as well. They reused the models from Mario Kart 64. It truly makes the characters feel more alive than their Super Mario Kart counterpart, but we also lose the once great character Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr. doesn't appear in a Mario Kart game again until Mario Kart Tour. That's actually insane. Anyway, Mario Kart Super Circuit became the go-to way to play Mario Kart on the go, but so much work went into creating the game. The cutting room floor has most of the information about the development of the game, but I'll give you a few highlights. Inside the game, there's actually 4 items that you cannot use in the game. They're all items that had previously appeared in a Mario Kart game before, but these ones were removed. There was the triple banana, the golden mushroom, the fake item box, and the golden mushroom again. Pretty interesting, I know. The golden mushroom doesn't really make that much sense to be in a portable Mario Kart game, especially this one, because the tracks are so small that it would just be a bad thing to use. But the triple banana, I don't know why that was removed, they just got lazy. The game just has a lot of unused graphics, like a lot. But now let's get into the finished game and see what makes Mario Kart Super Circuit so Mario Kart Super Circuit. Mario Kart Super Circuit features 8 main characters: Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Wario, and Bowser. These characters are pretty much the go-to characters for every single Mario Kart and pretty much every single Mario spin-off. The Yoshis can come in different colors in multiplayer, specifically red, blue, and yellow, but there's really only 8 characters in this game. There's also 5 cups instead of the usual 4. The Mushroom Cup, the Flower Cup, the Lightning Cup, the Star Cup, and the Special Cup. But that's not all. This game was also the first to introduce retro courses to the game. Every single track from the original Super Mario Kart is ported into Mario Kart Super Circuit. Really? Yes, I know, Super Mario Kart is easily the worst in the series, so having these tracks isn't really that exciting, but if you're someone who hasn't played Super Mario Kart, having another 20 courses in the game on top of the original 20 is really cool. So yes, that brings the total amount of courses to 40. There's 40 different tracks in this game. And thankfully, at least in the Mario Kart Super Circuit courses, there isn't that many courses that are just literal repeats. There is 4 Bowser Castles for some reason, which I don't think I need to go over again how repetitive these types of courses are, but other than that, each course has its own unique identity, kinda, which is so much more fun than Super Mario Kart. Look, I honestly don't have that many memories with this Mario Kart, so I can't tell you if it's good or not, and I can't tell you if people enjoyed it when it came out. My first Mario Kart was Mario Kart Wii, but I have experiences from across the franchise. This has always been that weird one that released in between Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart Double Dash. I've never really gotten into it, but I can respect it for what it is. It's the first portable Mario Kart, and it introduces retro tracks to the game, but who cares? Mario Kart Super Circuit sold almost 6 million copies and was the 4th best-selling Game Boy Advance game. I find that to be a little bit insane, but okay. People will say that this game was their favourite game from their childhood if they grew up in this era, or at least one of their favourites, but if you ask them to name one thing from this game, they probably can't. The game is just the little cousin that everyone forgets about. Mario Kart Super Circuit is just there. But that doesn't stop me. I thought I'd finally give this game a try after leaving it on my backlog for so long. And the game was truly okay. It wasn't fantastic, it was okay. I wanted to like this game, I really did, but Mario Kart Super Circuit just feels so boring in my eyes. Everything about this game just feels too boring. I began with the Mushroom Cup, as you do, and although I enjoyed all the different tracks that I played on, it just wasn't that exciting. Each cup has the usual 4 tracks in it with 3 laps, but due to the game being this pseudo 3D style, all the tracks pretty much just feel the same. Even if the background and the graphics on the screen looks different, all the tracks are just loops. If I had to pick a favourite out of all the tracks in the first cup, Shy Guy Beach was actually quite nice. Due to the water slowing the car down and the crabs being on the path, it makes this track that ever so slightly more interesting than the previous ones. This track isn't just your typical Mario Kart Super Circuit track that's just a boring loop. It actually changes the way you play the track, which I feel most of this game doesn't really do. Like if we compare the first track, Peach Circuit, and the third track, Riverside Park, aside from the fact that Riverside Park looks like it takes place in a jungle, it's pretty much the same thing as the previous track. It has a few jumps, but that's it. That's the only difference. It doesn't feel like this is any different to any of the other tracks in the game, and those coloured block walls don't help either. The final track of the Mushroom Cup is the first Bowser Castle. It's not great. I just don't like most Bowser Castles. I'm fine with there being one Bowser Castle in a game, but most games have more than one. I don't like Bowser's Castle that much that I want half of my Mario Kart to just be a newer rendition of the same thing. That's what Rainbow Road is for. The next cup is more of the same. I honestly couldn't tell these two apart in most cases. Not only does this have yet another circuit track, it also has a Bowser Castle. Cheeseland visually looks great in this cup, but it's just a generic Mario Kart track that happens to be set in some cheese. It's not that exciting. There's also a ghost track. That's about as much as I can say about this track. The next cup has Luigi Circuit. See, this one is a bit different because it's raining. There's also a few puddles on the ground that make the car slip and slide, which I guess is a bit interesting, but that's it. That's the only difference. The game also has the rank out system that I hate. It's a leftover from the fact that Mario Kart is based on arcade races, but it just doesn't really fit in Mario Kart, and I'm glad they got rid of it in later Mario Kart games. It really just sucks. The next track is Sky Garden, which is really good. In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Booster Course passed for the Nintendo Switch family of systems, but in Mario Kart Super Circuit, it's pretty mid. Next is Cheep Cheep Island. It's like the other 50 courses, but this time the sky is golden. How fun. I don't know why the game gets me so mad, but it does. This game is just so annoying. I'm honestly not that big of a fan of the game, but I'll keep describing you my pain for entertainment because that's how this works. Sunset Wilds. The vibes of this track are just fantastic. I love the way that the sun sets while the track is being played, and that's about it. The track is pretty much identical to the previous ones I played, but it just has a nice vibe. Maybe it's because I've gotten so used to modern Mario Kart, but both this and Super Mario Kart are just so boring to me. Next, of course, is the Star Cup, and I want to talk about a highlight here, Ribbon Road. That track is just so much fun to look at. I like the fact that this track actually loops around itself, which to be fair is exactly what Cheeseland does, but this one just feels more fun. I don't really have a problem with this track except for the fact that they obviously didn't code Lakitu properly, which leads to me being taken into the middle of an abyss, so that's fun, but other than that, Ribbon Road was okay. Honestly a saving grace. The Bowser Castle in the Star Cup is probably the most interesting out of the bunch. The track actually looks a bit different compared to the others, and has a bit more of a square feeling compared to the others. I'm still sick of Bowser's Castle, but at least this one's a little bit different. Now, the Special Cup. The amount of hell I went through to unlock this was insane. You have to get first place in all the tracks, which I get, and that's how Mario Kart works, but I just got so bored playing this game. But when I finally got to the Rainbow Road, I'll admit, it felt like I accomplished something huge. The Rainbow Road is very challenging here, but that's honestly for the best. The challenge of Rainbow Road is what makes it interesting. It's why I enjoy the track in all the different Mario Karts. Across the entire track, instead of having barriers, there's these little jump pads. It makes it so easy to fall off the track, but it gives it a bit more of a challenge. I don't want to play this track ever again, nor this game ever again, but the Rainbow Road was quite fun. Of course there's the Super Mario Kart tracks that are in this game, but there's not much to talk about here, they're just a pain in the butt to unlock. In Super Mario Kart, these tracks were put into groups of 5 with 4 cups. Now they're in 5 cups with 4 tracks. Huge. But of course, because Super Mario Kart repeats the same themes over and over again, all of these tracks are pretty much just the same thing until Rainbow Road. There's not a lot of originality here. Mario Kart Super Circuit is one of the Mario Karts of all time. That's all I can say. I don't really have that much experience with this one. I have experience with Mario Kart Double Dash and Mario Kart 64 and pretty much all of the other games in the series, but when it comes to Mario Kart Super Circuit, it's just the other one. It's just truly a nothing game. I don't know what else to say. So come back next time when we'll talk about Mario Kart Double Dash. Adios!